Chapter 1645. The next day. Mo Bay, who was pressing her head, had forgotten what she had said. Her little abstinence was basically telling herself that she wouldn't drink again unless her master was around. However, Lin Feng took this matter seriously. He pondered that he had to counterattack once. What did he mean by he couldn't counterattack because of his temperament? He was giving in to Yunhu, okay? This time, he definitely wouldn't be so gentle. Lin Feng watched Yunhu walk out of the bathroom. Without a word, he extinguished his cigarette and pressed him against the wall. There was a hint of alcohol in his breath. Probably because he didn't drink much, it wasn't unpleasant. There was even the fragrance of alcohol. Everyone knew that Lin Feng was good-looking. His handsome face turned over. When he got closer, the collar of his shirt was already crooked. He was so handsome that he looked like a rascal. Do you want to go to the bed yourself or do I have to use a stronger method? Yunhu only needed one glance to know what he was thinking. His black hair was still dripping water. He reached out and took the towel away. His expression didn't change. I'll go myself. So cooperative. Lin Feng frowned and sized him up. Don't tell me you want to do something when you kiss me senseless. Yunhu laughed at his words. MH. You admit that you feel good when I kiss you. Brother, that isn't the point. Lin Feng scoffed. Yunhu gestured for him to look at his finger. Lin Feng glanced over and saw the ring he had worn yesterday. It was black and engraved with his name. Yunhu's black hair was still dripping water. He lowered his eyes and looked at him. We aren't brothers for a long time. Are you calling me hubby or am I calling you hubby? Lin Feng choked on his words. He turned his head and said, this title is awkward. Yunhu thought for a moment and said, it is quite awkward. Lin Feng suggested. I'll call you Madam Lin from now on. Yunhu looked up and seemed to smile. Taking advantage of me verbally. How is this verbally taking advantage of me? In terms of months, I'm older than you, right? Lin Feng felt that his hair was an eyesore and threw the towel back. Yunhu took it, a smile on his face. You're just older than me in terms of months, the rest, heh. At first, Lin Feng didn't understand what it meant. After thinking for a while, he pushed her to the edge of the bed. White shirt and black trousers. When he was wearing it, it was indeed very fragrant. Yunhu looked at him. The man bent down and smiled in his ear. You'll know in a moment whether it's big or not. Yunhu didn't move, watching as Lin Feng pried open his belt. With Lin Feng's skills, as long as he was willing, Yunhu wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. After all, in terms of strength, he really couldn't compare with this person. Yunhu felt a kiss landing beside his ear. His gaze deepened and his voice became hoarse. Are you having second thoughts because of what you heard last night? I've always had this thought. Lin Feng looked down at him from top to bottom. After all, you're young Master Yun. Yunhu smiled slowly. It seems like I've finally made you feel a sense of conquest. His smile made Lin Feng's ears heat up. Don't talk. All right. Yunhu reached out, wanting to pull him closer. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes. Don't move either. Yunhu's voice was still hoarse. Can't I cooperate with you? Chapter 1646. Yunhu sucked in a deep breath. He was kissed. His gaze deepened along with the person's actions. After all, it was more tempting when it came to him. But the moment he thought about how this guy had attracted many men and women because of his face, his heart tightened. Girls were probably something he would care about for the rest of his life. Girls were probably something he would care about for the rest of his life. Lin Feng glanced down, his breathing a little messy. What are you thinking about? How do I want to lock you down? Yunhu's gaze was deep and beautiful. Do you really want it? Lin Feng pressed his forehead. Of course, I've already done it. What do you think? Yunhu felt the warmth coming from his body. His black hair fell. Can't you be pampered by me? Don't you hate being tired? I'm happy to be tired. Lin Feng laughed lightly. Don't play psychological games with me. Anyway, this time, I want to be the leader. Yunhu tilted his head and looked at the face he had liked for so many years. Sure. This time, Lin Feng was the one who paused. What tricks are you playing? I'm not playing tricks. Yunhu's gaze was deep. I'm worried that after you try, you will still think that girls are better. When Lin Feng heard this, he blurted out, I only have you from the start, who else can I compare with? The moment he said this, he regretted it. Didn't this prove that he didn't have any experience and that he had learned everything from him? Yunhu laughed. That's true. F***ck, I realized that you must be doing it on purpose to spoil my mood. Lin Feng moved closer to his face. It's not that easy. Yunhu didn't dodge. I won't spoil it, I just saw that you did too much foreplay. I'm not afraid of your pain. Lin Feng snorted. Besides, I have to make you feel it. Yunhu looked at him and lowered his voice. Then you don't have to do any foreplay. I can feel it just by looking at you. It was just a sentence. But Lin Feng didn't know why when his breath landed on his face, there was a numbing feeling that couldn't be shaken off. This guy, he shouldn't have let him speak. Lin Feng had learned his lesson. He lowered his gaze and ended the conversation with a kiss. When his fingers touched the smooth lines under his palm, even though he knew that it was a person with the same body structure as him, he couldn't bear to leave because of that unique feeling. He had to admit that Yunhu's figure was really good. Any man would be envious. Lin Feng was no exception. He didn't even understand why he didn't have such a body when he was obviously stronger. The smooth texture made his whole body feel a little hot. It was just that he was constantly on guard against the other party's tricks. When Lin Feng leaned over, he was thinking of ways to avoid Yunhu's hand. Because once that guy made a move, he didn't have to think about anything else. In the end, the one who would be attacked would definitely be him. A historic mistake. He wouldn't do it again. But today, the other party was really cooperating. It was as if they were completely under his control. Lin Feng had never seen Yunhu like this. But to be honest, he really didn't look like someone who was lying under anyone. But Lin Feng didn't care so much. Now that he had the chance, he wanted it. But really, there was no trick. But Yunhu's face started to turn pale. It should be painful. Just as he was about to let go. Chapter 1647. Needless to say, Yunhu was really domineering when he said that. This made Lin Feng feel like he was hallucinating. Who exactly was suppressing who? But with Yunhu's cooperation, Lin Feng improved. Lin Feng had also improved, and he felt great. Especially the voice beside his ear and the face that was inches away. It was really easy to make people go crazy. But similarly, after going crazy, Lin Feng regretted it. Because he could sense that the other party didn't feel a trace of happiness. Even though he didn't feel good at that time, Yunhu really cared about his feelings, which was why he was defeated by the numbness. But now, he seemed to have hurt the other party. After it was over, Lin Feng saw Yunhu's pale face and panicked. He touched the trousers in his hand and put them on, wanting to make a call. Unexpectedly, his hand was held down by Yunhu. That person had a handsome face and his aura was still there. Honestly, if it wasn't for his pale face. He didn't look like he had been ked. However, even his lips turned pale. Are you planning to run away after trying it out? You don't think it's good enough? Lin Feng really didn't understand where this thought came from. He was anxious and said, I'm feeling great. Who's running away at the last minute? I just feel that my skills are too bad and want to ask if there's any way to make up for it. Ever since he roared out this sentence, the entire room was a little quiet. Yun, who probably didn't expect him to say this, his fingers paused. Lin Feng came back to his senses. *CK, what did he say just now? His skills were too bad. Yun, who looked at his face, a smile flashing across his eyes. Who do you plan to ask about this? That's right, who? Was he going to tell the world that his skills were bad? Lin Feng thought about it and quickly hung up. Fortunately, it didn't go through. You don't have to ask me. Yun, who looked at him. Lin Feng was annoyed too. He squatted by the bed with his long legs and long arms, his handsome face. Is it very painful? Must I describe it? Yun, who glanced down. Lin Feng said in a low voice, it wasn't very painful before. Didn't you say that your skills are bad? Yun, who sighed. Indeed, it's a long story. Lin Feng felt really guilty. After all, he knew that someone like Yun who wouldn't lie down for anyone. Do you need me to help you clean up? Forget it, it hurts to even move now. Yun, who held his forehead. Besides, do you know how to? Lin Feng said, it's not like I haven't studied it before. Yun, who chuckled. It mostly depends on talent. Normally, Lin Feng would be furious if he was teased like this. However, seeing that the man's face was pale, he was even more worried. Do you want to go to the hospital? How do I tell the doctor the cause of the illness? Her boyfriend slept with her. Yun, whose gaze deepened. Lin Feng felt even more guilty. I'll go get you a glass of water. Yun, who pressed him down again, his tone unhurried. Are you feeling guilty? Isn't that obvious? Lin Feng was starting to regret it. With Yun, whose physique, why did he have to listen to him? Yun, who glanced at the man's naked upper body, his gaze deepening. If you feel guilty, stay closer to me. MH. Lin Feng didn't know what this meant. He moved closer. Yun, who continued, come up. Chapter 1648. Sore waist. Yun, who didn't have that feeling yet. He just felt that this person was as slow as usual in certain aspects. Come up first. The voice was faint. Lin Feng bent his waist, and he could still see the attractive curve of his waist. Perhaps it was because of his fair skin that made him want to hold it even more. Let me tell you, I'm quite good at helping. Lin Feng had just come up and hadn't finished his sentence. The pale-faced man who had been lying on the ground suddenly exerted strength in his hands and flipped him over, pressing him against the wall. His breath seemed to flow into the back of his ears. Didn't I say that if you want to practice your techniques, you can ask me directly? Lin Feng sensed what he was going to do and instinctively wanted to reach out. But looking at his pale face, he was afraid that if he used his strength, Yun would definitely be in trouble. That was the moment he panicked. Yunhu's kiss landed on the side of his neck. His breath was still hot. When his thin lips pressed against it, Lin Feng couldn't help but tremble. That kiss wasn't rushed, but it was forceful. Every part of his body seemed to be numb. It was as if he was electrified. Needless to say, how would it feel when his entire body was pressed against it? It wasn't easy for Lin Feng to press down on someone. Of course, he didn't want to be pressed back. While he wasn't bewitched, he said unsteadily, "Didn't we agree that today is the wedding day? Let me do it. Didn't I come just now?" Yun-Hu didn't stop when he spoke, his eyes landing on his face. Besides, don't you want me to stop the pain? This method is the most effective. Lin Feng thought to himself, I don't believe you. The moment he opened his mouth, he was kissed back. It was the same kiss. Even he didn't know why. When Yun-Hu kissed him, it felt as if his entire nervous system was burning. There was a numb feeling everywhere. His body seemed to be ignited by fire. But Yun-Hu didn't let him move, the breath hitting his ear getting heavier. This suddenly made Lin Feng understand something. Actually, it didn't matter whether he pressed back or not because he knew clearly how affected this person would be because of him. That expression that didn't seem like his usual self was indescribably sexy. There was restraint and also impudence. But his face was still pale. This made Lin Feng forget about it. After all, it wasn't like he didn't enjoy it when he was down there. While thinking like this, Yun-Hu barged in. Only then did Lin Feng recover from the numbness. The burning sensation wasn't pleasant. Does it hurt? Yun-Hu lowered his voice. Before Lin Feng could finish, Yun-Hu opened his mouth again. This is the moment. You can't stop because it will hurt more if you stop. Lin Feng's breathing was messed up. His black hair fell onto the pillow, and the back of his neck was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Yun-Hu's gaze deepened. He leaned forward and planted a kiss on the back of his shoulder. His voice was raspy. At this time, we have to slowly let the other party get used to it. Then, we have to feel when he can truly accept me. Lin Feng could sense every movement he made, but he had never heard him talk about it. It would only make him more. At this moment, he did not know what point he had hit. Lin Feng's eyes widened and he grabbed the bed sheets with his left hand. Chapter 1649. Lin Feng's entire body turned numb, his tailbone trembling. Seems like it. Yun-Hu lowered his body. He had been controlling his strength but at this moment, he didn't seem to care anymore. What else did Yun-Hu say next? Lin Feng couldn't take it anymore. His mind was so blank that he could only protest. Yun-Hu lowered his voice. Isn't it great? Me too. An entire day of entanglement. The temperature kept rising. He could hear the sound of breathing. And the flirtatious shaking of the bed. The European-style bed, especially the one in the hotel, wasn't that sturdy. When Lin Feng woke up, it was already 2:00 in the afternoon. He heard Yun-Hu talking on the phone. He sat by the bed, one hand buttoning his white shirt. They were both under pressure, but why was he so much more energetic? Was it just his imagination that his face was pale? Sensing that he was awake, Yun-Hu hung up and glanced over. Are you hungry? Lin Feng's stomach growled. Order the hotel service first, I want to eat mutton. Have some porridge first. Yun-Hu buttoned the last button and lowered his body, using his forehead to touch Lin Feng's. Lin Feng arched a brow. What are you doing? I was too fierce, I'm afraid you might have an adverse reaction. Yun-Hu's voice was faint. Lin Feng paused. Am I that weak? Better than me. Yun-Hu chuckled lightly. I have a slight fever but I took medicine. Lin Feng looked at his lips, which hadn't recovered. It didn't seem serious when you were torturing me. You seem quite strong, didn't I tell you not to move around? Yun-Hu's voice was a little hoarse. I wanted to hug you to sleep but who knew you would stir up the fire? Lin Feng didn't care since he had the mindset of a straight man. How are you now? I'll get you some medicine. He was about to get up, his actions suave. Yun-Hu pressed him down. It's fine, I'll be fine in a while. It's not that hot. Have some porridge with me and we'll meet Little Spade tonight. Did you forget about the call? Lin Feng suddenly thought of something and felt relieved. It was little Spade's call. Yun who sat there, his side profile giving off the vibe of an aristocratic young master. Lin Feng put on his trousers. His face was beautiful but his movements were rough and he looked like a rascal. When he lowered his head to pull the zipper, he said, "I've thought about it. You should serve me in the future. I couldn't tell in the past with that body of yours, but now I know." When Yun Hu heard this, he glanced over, his lips curving into a smile. "I'll let you indulge yourself this once. You're thinking too much. If I want to do something to you, it won't be a matter of minutes." Lin Feng was wearing a pair of black trousers. He bent down and patted his face. He didn't use much strength, but it was manly. "I'm going easy on you." Yun Hu glanced up. His aura was still there, but he was smiling more than before. "I know, Almighty Lin Feng is going easy on me. If not, why would I be able to suppress him?" Lin Feng retracted his hand. "I'll call room service." "There's no need for that." Yun Hu stood up. "It's the first day of marriage, we have to have a formal meal." Lin Feng looked at him and then at himself. He was covered in marks and he had to choose clothes to wear. Was this guy born in the year of the dog? Getting off the bed and getting off the bed were really two different people. Chapter 1650. Yun Hu had always been someone else's child in his mother's eyes. If it was someone else, with his mother's personality, she would definitely give that person a hard time and would not be able to get over it for a while. Now, in his mother's words, Yun Hu was the one who called home to tell them he was safe. When he drank too much, Yun Hu was the one who brought him home. When the washing machine broke, Yun Hu was the one who fixed it. His mother's meaning was clear. Yun Hu was her biological son. Seriously. Lin Feng felt that appearance and temperament were too deceiving. Yun Hu didn't know what he was thinking. After he tidied himself up, he turned and said, "When you were asleep, your phone rang. It should be a call from home but I didn't receive it. Call Mom in a while." "I know." Calling her mother was getting smoother. This guy. Lin Feng put on his belt watch. Indeed, after he grew up, his temperament came out. Now he walked out, looking like one of those young headhunters often seen in movies. But he was too good-looking. His chiseled face gave off the vibe of a playboy. Such a person was the most likely to attract love. But he didn't know it. Yun Hu's gaze deepened. When the person turned his head, he kissed him. Lin Feng was still tidying up his watch. His scalp went numb and his legs went soft. In the end, his breathing was unstable. He leaned his head on Yun Hu's shoulder. His face was hot but he was happy. Life after marriage. It wasn't scary. In the past, he thought about what would happen if they didn't get along well. After all, they were both men. The process from brothers to lovers wasn't simple. Sometimes, he would think about what if one of them was tired of it and wanted to give up. Now, it seemed unlikely. He glanced at the other girls on the way. He would whisper, "What's the use? I can't kiss you until your legs go soft." Or, "Almighty Lin Feng wants to betray us." In the past, he didn't think Yun Hu would feel uneasy. The more they interacted, the more Lin Feng understood. Uneasiness was relative. Because they cared, they had their own uneasiness. But this person would hold hands with him on the streets, not caring about other people's gazes. Even if it was a business occasion. He would bring him home. He couldn't be too obvious because both of them were mature and understood the rules of society. But as long as it was necessary, he would not deliberately conceal it. Thanks to the appearance of this person. Enough for him to like for many years. It was different from the way she dated Lin Feng and Yun Hu. In the villa, Bojo was about to leave after her shower. After Chin Mo grabbed her, he took the hairdryer over and let her lie on his long legs. The young butler often felt that his young master was no different from raising Miss Gio when he was young. The only difference was that ninth young mistress loved to tease their young master. Chin Mo glanced down at the person who had reached out to touch his ear. His ascetic aura didn't diminish. After he removed the hairdryer, he lowered his body and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Almighty Z, behave yourself unless you want to return to bed." Bojo paused. A wise man submits to circumstances and retracted her hand. Forget it, she would just admire his beauty. Don't get touchy. Even if your heart is itching, you have to endure it. Chapter 1651. Little Bojo. MMH. Do you really want children? MMH, 2 years later, it's not good for your health. Alright. That was what Bojo promised him. But when he received a call from the superintendent on 5th Avenue, he needed his help. Bojo stood up and laughed lightly. You go, I'll bring Beauty Lin and little Mo Bay around. It was true that they were going around. But it was also true that they were going to the Black brothers' place. When the Black brothers saw the familiar Lamborghini, their first reaction was to leave. But that person's driving skills were too good. With a beautiful swing of the tail, he blocked them in the corner. The Black brothers. Seriously, they were unlucky. Hey, brother. The Black brothers. Who's your brother? Have a chat. Bojo smiled. Okay. The Black brothers, as if they could reject. They went over and squatted at the corner. They had never been treated like this when the superintendent chased them. I have something to do now. Bojo stood there, leaning against the sports car. She was low-key and black, but she was as evil as a vampire aristocrat. The Black brothers spoke in a foreign language. What is it? Bojo unwrapped a lollipop and placed it in her mouth. My one doesn't want children. The Black brothers. Wait a minute, was there something wrong with their hearing? Her one. The demoness had someone. Who exactly was it? They really wanted to take a look. They were really impressed. They were really impressed. Do you have anything that can make people submit without hurting them? Bojo lowered her voice. When the African-American brother heard this, he had already imagined a drama. For example, the other party must be a pretty boy and especially handsome. But this person definitely wouldn't dare to interact with the demoness. Of course, the demoness was indeed beautiful. But now, they had to use a supplementary item to force themselves on her. This was indeed a little. Sigh, they didn't know if the other party was lucky or unlucky. The Black brothers glanced at each other. They still had a conscience and didn't want to push her into the sea of fire. However, Bojo knew them too well. She laughed again and played with the lighter in her hands. It seems like you really have it. As expected of the street tyrants. Why would a street tyrant be blocked by you? Are you praising me or insulting me? The Black brothers had mixed feelings. After all, this witch's methods. Come, tell me. Bojo smiled brightly. What is it? Which one of your shops has it? The Black brothers felt that if they weren't, the man would have thrown the lighter directly into the oil barrel next to him. In order to survive, they immediately straightened their bodies and pulled out the oil barrel. It's too expensive, it's not worth it. The Black brothers. You're still bargaining. We've known each other for a few years and we're all brothers. Won't you feel guilty if I don't give you a discount? Bojo glanced down, her fair hand hanging by the side of the tub. The Black brother immediately said, 10% off. You're a good brother. Bojo patted his shoulder. You're so generous, I'm embarrassed. The black brother. Hurry up and leave. You're smiling so much that your eyes are curved. You don't look embarrassed at all. Bojo found what she wanted and whistled in a good mood. She sat in the car and waved at them. Chapter 1652. The black Lamborghini had just disappeared and they were about to stand up. A slender figure walked out from the back of the long alley. Because of the climate, the weather wasn't very hot at this time. That person was wearing a beige trench coat. His skin was very white and he gave off a cold and abstinent feeling. At the same time, he was very refined and had an indescribable scholarly aura. It wasn't common to see such an Asian person. But this didn't stop them from thinking of the sickly man that Asians often talked about when they saw this person. After all, he was too white. The black brothers stood up, their hearts filled with anger. This person actually dared to come to their street. Wasn't he looking for trouble? One of them glanced at the person beside him. Then, his gaze landed on that person's cufflinks. Although they didn't know what private collection it was. But they could tell that it was very valuable. They had already made up their minds to snatch it later. Even their gazes were very fierce. That figure didn't seem to notice them at all. He walked in front of them and said calmly, "What did you give her just now?" It was Chin-Mo. After all, there was a person in the family who might do something bad at any time. Of course, he had to follow and watch from time to time. If Bojo hadn't been too immersed in the joy of getting something good, she wouldn't have missed it when she first went out. Of course, it was true that Chin-Mo went to help the director. It was also true that there was a location in the ring he gave her. It seemed as though he couldn't take it anymore, even if there was a small possibility of losing her. Chin-Mo decided to make a location for both rings. In other words, if he was missing, she could find him through the ring. If she was missing, he could find her through the ring. This was mutual. However, the black brothers didn't know who the person in front of them was. They felt that other than being good-looking, how could such a person be a threat? He returned to his usual vicious smile. "Pretty boy, do you know where this place is?" "The gray area of Fifth Avenue." No one would care about it. If they weren't from the underworld, not many people would dare to come. This pretty boy was really the type who walked right into a trap. "Hey, don't be so unfriendly." One of them lowered his voice. "Don't be so loud when dealing with an Asian kid. If he faints, how are we going to get the money?" "Ha ha ha ha, that's right." Chin-Mo listened to the laughter but didn't say a word. The man continued, "Bro, don't say that I'm not helping you. Hand over your cufflinks first. If you want to ask anything else, we can talk about the price." "Cufflinks?" Chin-Mo glanced down at his right wrist. The cufflinks weren't big, but they glowed faintly and looked very luxurious. Chin-Mo exuded a noble aura. She didn't like to wear any accessories. The only thing that exuded an evil aura was the cufflinks. It didn't seem like it belonged to him, but when it came to him, it was a perfect fit. Perhaps only a person like him could bring out the value of the cufflinks. Bojo didn't use the cufflinks because she didn't think she could handle it. Ever since she had seen Chin-Mo, her mind had been filled with thoughts of the collections that were suppressed in the castle. Everything she wore was used on Chin-Mo. In her words, dressing up like a god could make her feel good. After all, she was the one who could make him take off his clothes in the end. It was too abstinent and too seductive. Chapter 1653. Not giving. The African-American brothers snorted and immediately took action. "You're really not good enough," before he could say the word, "Dao." The person who reached out shouted, "SH*T." It was really painful, so painful that his expression changed. Let go. Let go. Chin Mo glanced at him and looked down coldly. Your attitude isn't right. The black brother's face had never been as white as it was now. Wasn't this type of oriental pretty boy easy to deal with? Why did it have to be this one, who was even more ferocious than the demoness who left? At least the demoness wouldn't really make a move. She wouldn't care about her attitude. But it was really painful. It was useless even if a few of them attacked together. This person couldn't possibly know martial arts, right? When the black brothers thought of this word, they looked at Yunhu in a different light. There was fear, but now, there was a little bit of worship mixed in. He leaned against the wall, shivering. After Chin Mo fought, he would tidy himself up. His aura didn't change. It wasn't suitable for him to appear here like this. Most of the people who came to the gray area, whether it was from their clothes or appearance, belonged to the dark side. But this person was like a god in white who broke into the demon world. Even if it was dark around him, it didn't affect his elegance. The more they looked, the more the black brothers felt that this man wasn't simple. And Chin Mo didn't hide himself at all. He stood in front of one of them. What did she take from you? The same question. This time, the black brothers said everything they knew. They spoke in a foreign language. In the blabbering, there was only one meaning: the demoness has taken a fancy to a pretty boy. That pretty boy is probably resisting too much. The demoness wants him to be willing. Once he loses the ability to resist, she will be able to do whatever she wants. Pretty boy. Chin Mo was good at catching the main point. His voice was slow. How do you know that he is a pretty boy? The black brother had the right to speak. Needless to say, the demoness looks at looks. She always likes those with fair skin. She doesn't want white people, those with oriental beauty, just like. At this point, the black brother paused. Just like you, and, really, if the demoness saw you, she would definitely snatch you home. Isn't that right, brothers? The few beside him nodded in unison. Chin Mo arched a brow. Are you saying that I'm a gigolo? The black brothers. That was what they thought in the beginning, but now, they didn't dare to say it. He really regretted learning some adjectives from Huaxia. It was too much of a trap. This matter must be explained clearly. No, we're talking about the one that the witch took a fancy to. That was just an example. Chin Mo straightened his back and suddenly changed the topic. Oh. However, the thing she wanted was indeed used on me. What? The African brothers were stupefied. Their faces were stupefied. Their eyes were rounder than ever. Did he mean that he was the gigolo that the demoness wanted? What was the witch thinking? Although the flower was beautiful, it was prickly. No wonder he came to ask for something from them. Apart from the demoness, no one would dare to have any ideas about such a person. It was too terrifying. Especially why hadn't he left yet? Chapter 1654. Most importantly, even though the demoness was a little evil, they were still on the same path. They could still bargain. Who was this person? What did he do? They had no idea. Where did the demoness find such a person for herself? Did she know that he was like this? Could it be that he was bewitched by the other party's face? The black brothers thought about many things. Chin Mo opened his mouth at this moment. His voice was calm. Do you have a girlfriend? They shook their heads. Girlfriend? They had many mistresses. They had never thought about a formal girlfriend. Chin Mo continued, Indeed, it's hard to understand someone without a girlfriend. I can only say that when she woke up today, she didn't have so many thoughts. After seeing you guys, she got some medicine to use on me. There's an old saying in China, after something happens, think about the bigger picture. The Black brothers weren't stupid. Even though this sentence was a little roundabout, they understood it. This person was saying that the demoness was like this because of them. Bro, you must be joking. You saw how we were threatened by the demoness just now. Chi Nemo didn't think much of it. You guys can discuss how to solve the problem of the source of supply. If she has any messy things on her next time, I will probably look for you guys. In the future, if there's anything else, please remember not to lead her astray. The Black brothers widened their eyes. Who? Who led her astray? Raising the demoness like a child. Bro, touch your chest. Have a conscience and tell me who led who astray. They really couldn't compare to the demoness in certain aspects. But at this point, they understood. At first, they thought that the demoness found a gigolo. Now, it seemed like a gigolo. He was simply a demon. Because of this, the others who wanted to make a move before Z got up suffered. They didn't even get a chance to skip a beat. He asked his underling. The underling held his head and said to the boss, "We really can't, especially in Chinatown. The man beside Z is too difficult to deal with. How can Z have a man?" The boss was indignant. Another underling lowered his voice. "She really has one. He seems to be related to the police superintendent. His men are everywhere. It's not easy to deal with him. Then give some money to the Chinese forces. What's wrong with that? He seems to have more money and is good at using guns. In addition, Z's intuition is too good. We can't take advantage of him at all. Boss, let's stop. It's not bad to be like before. Just don't let us sell people from China and the hackers information. Z doesn't care about anything else. It wasn't easy for him to be free for 3 years, but he had to start following the rules set by others again. The boss would definitely feel uncomfortable. But that person was too strong. He was so strong that the entire Fifth Avenue didn't even dare to violate his bottom line. You can make money, you can even gray, but some cannot be touched, everyone must abide by. This kind of control came again. However, on second thought, they weren't the ones who would be affected the most. After all, according to Z's style of doing things in the past, she would only imprison those who were beasts in human form. As for them, as long as they didn't provoke the other party, they should be fine. The most important thing now was who exactly was the man Z was keeping. Yu Cixin was right. If those two joined hands, it would only be the others who would have a headache, in the afternoon, outside the church. Chapter 1655. It was impossible for Z to be completely obedient. Since young, Bojio had been trying her best to take advantage of little Princess Qin. Now that she had gotten her hands on her, she could take advantage of her openly. How could she give up the chance? When Lin Feng walked over, he saw the devilish smile on her face. He didn't know what bad things she was thinking about. "Little Spade, tell me, what are you thinking about again?" Bojio kept her things and stuffed one hand into her pocket. Her eyes were dark. "You won't understand even if I tell you." "Senior, why did you call me yesterday?" Lin Feng remembered the question he wanted to ask last night and changed the topic. "I just made a call." "Where's your disciple? Why don't I see little poker face?" Bojio saw through his wavering gaze and her smile deepened. "Don't change the topic with my little Mo-Bay. It seems like something happened, Senior." Lin Feng knew Little Spade. If he didn't tell her something, she would be more interested. He arched a brow and said generously, "It's nothing, I just suppressed someone I wanted to." Bojio arched a brow. "Bragging again? What do you mean bragging again? Am I someone like Xiao Sanpang?" Lin Feng scoffed. You can ask Yun Hu if you don't believe me. Bojo looked at his guilty expression. It was different from his usual guilty expression. It seemed as though it really happened. She arched a brow and smiled. Almighty Yun is really going easy on you. Lin Feng smirked. Who's going easy on who? I'm the one going easy on him. You don't know how weak he is. He can't handle me at all. Oh. Bojo was nonchalant. It seems like this is the only time. Lin Feng said righteously, you don't understand. I dote on my wife. Bojo. Whose wife? Naive and sweet. But even so, such a person was willing to lie down for him. That was enough to show their relationship. Hence, in such matters, being naive and sweet wasn't bad at all. When Lin Feng was talking, he liked to place his hand on Bojo's shoulder. After he started his business, he rarely did this. Yun Hu watched from the side. He liked a person not because of his appearance but because of him. Regardless of what he had experienced. He was still a youngster at heart. When the group of people walked over, she heard Lin Feng teaching Bojo how to dote on his wife. Little Mo Bei carried her school bag and walked over. There was no expression on her face. Senior Lin, if Master's wife sees you like this, you will suffer again. Little Mo Bei, you mustn't listen to Captain. Look at Captain, other than Little Spade, who else can touch him? This is fundamentally wrong. Good friends should put their arms around each other's shoulders for the relationship to be good. Didn't your master tell you to smile more and not be so expressionless? Little Mo Bei didn't know that Lin Feng was the only one who could touch her. I don't have facial paralysis. Little Mo Bei stood beside Bojo without any expression on her face. Lin Feng couldn't hold it in for a long time. This isn't facial paralysis. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. Little Mo Bei didn't say anything because her master was touching her head. He was watching a group of people fooling around. He felt that this was good enough. Although Senior Lin wasn't a reliable person. But some of his words were still true. If she could make friends in the future, she would try to get closer to people. Chapter 1656. Just like that. Little Mo Bei's way of interacting with others had been completely led astray. But it was also very blissful. Because she was too young. She wasn't an official member yet. She learned more than others. Because there would be Ren School nearby. There were many places to visit on Fifth Avenue. The exotic atmosphere was being traversed by this group of people. It was like a scene that would only appear in a comic. Everyone had a different style and personality. After leaving the chaos, life would become very simple. With this group of people together, how could they not play games? Video games were included. Coco was catching plush toys. He was really trying his best but he couldn't catch a single one. Bojo pushed him away, biting a lollipop. She controlled the game handle and lifted it up. A plush came out. Lin Feng, who had long legs, was also catching. Yun Hu was standing beside him. And Rao Rong. The four of them stood in a row. Lin Feng familiarized himself first. Then, it was almost the same. Once he took action, there would definitely be a plush toy coming out. Very quickly, this place became a scenery. After all, there were four handsome Asians and they were so good at catching plushies. It was really eye-catching. Other professional players didn't know. However, the four of them would usually train in terms of angle and strength. Other than Bojo, who frequented such places, the other three basically could get the hang of it after trying. More and more people surrounded them. Bojo definitely caught the plushies for her disciple. Lin Feng casually threw them into Mo Bei's hands. Rao Rong and Yun, who were the same. Mo Bei was almost buried by the pile of plushies. This was probably the strength of the group pet. Shui Yao Yao watched from the side. She raised her hand and took a photo. Because she knew that they would be separated in the future. That was why she would cherish the days together. Her fingers swept across the screen. That devilish back view couldn't help but lift the corners of her lips. Perhaps no one would understand. Her youth was so dazzling because she had been with such a group of people. She used to be too ordinary. She was so fat that no one would ever notice her. After knowing this group of people, it seemed that no matter what she encountered in the future, there would always be something buried in the depths of her heart. She continued to walk and work hard. Even if she had to walk the path of becoming a person, she wouldn't be the same as before. She wouldn't be so timid and afraid to express herself. Supreme Alliance had taught her courage. In everyone's eyes, they were different. Shui Yao Yao could hear the laughter around her, some complimenting their looks, but most of them were surprised. If he continued to be arrested, the boss's business would be ruined. It just so happened that the captain had come at this time. She stretched out her hand and pulled down her collar. She didn't join the team to catch the dolls, but used a sentence to send Mo Bei away. Go catch a few and practice your control of the angle. When Almighty Qin said this, his face was noble and indifferent. In reality, after Mo Bei left, he stood beside Bo Jiu and took the plush toy that the person had brought over. He lowered his lids and smiled. You seem obedient today. Good every day, Bo Jiu replied calmly. Brother Mo, which one do you want? I'll catch it for you. Qin Mo didn't expose her about the Black brothers. He glanced over, his eyes calm. That little tiger. Bo Jiu arched a brow. Chapter 1657. Bo Jiu's slender fingers paused for a moment and she smiled. Next, they were all tigers. Qin Mo had a noble and scholarly aura. Now that he was holding these plush dolls, it didn't affect him much. However, there were more people watching. After all, it wasn't appropriate for a grown man to hold so many dolls. It wasn't like Mo Bei's age. Even if she was smashed by a bunch of plush dolls, it wouldn't seem too out of place. Qin Mo was still wearing a beige trench coat. It was hard not to take a second look when he held these things. This was also because he was good-looking. Just a smile would make him feel comfortable. Some foreign children saw it and started to surround him. They probably wanted a doll. Qin Mo didn't give any of them. He simply handed the game tokens he bought to the children and let them catch it themselves. Mo Bei watched from the side. She more or less understood that master's wife never shared her master's things with anyone. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let her catch the dolls herself to practice. Bo Jiu, on the other hand, was satisfied. A certain someone was even more beautiful than usual with the plush doll in his hands. She would catch a few more. In a short while, the 7 tigers were all caught. Bo Jiu wanted to change the machine but Qin Mo held her wrist. If you continue to grab like this, the boss will come over. Did you tamper with these machines? I just made them return to the mode when they first appeared. Bo Jiu was serious. You need to be capable to catch the dolls. Oh. Qin Mo asked. Then tell me what their normal mode should be like. Bo Jiu retracted her hand. You can't even make your boyfriend happy by catching a doll. The success rate of the normal mode is 1 in 10. You can only catch it once out of 10 times. Even if the technique is right, if the frequency isn't right, it will still fall. Seeing that your boss didn't chase you away, you are quite tolerant. Qin Mo was indifferent. Is it normal now? Bojo really couldn't pass his eyes no matter what she did. She took out the foldable keyboard from her pocket and connected it to the internet. She adjusted the frequency. The switch of some machines was at the back. It was the manual type. She didn't know how to use it usually, so she just adjusted the system. But these were all small matters. Anyway, she had to do something big at night. After they stopped catching dolls, the group found a coffee shop by the street and filled the chairs with plush toys. Coco suggested with a straw in his mouth, "Let's play a game, we haven't played together in a long time." It had indeed been a long time since they had played together. Lin Feng couldn't appear now. Once he did, all sorts of topics would come up, asking him to explain. He had been working for almost half a month and hadn't touched the game. When he heard Coco mention it, his fingers paused. "I don't want to fight." Lin Feng smiled and pulled his collar. Rao Rong knew what he was thinking. There was a period of time when he didn't want to enter the game page. From high to low, then from being ostracized by everyone, and then back again. He really liked her and didn't want to let go. Not all wounds could be healed. There were many things that no one would understand even if they were explained. You just want to play. Some people don't think that way. Qin Mo should be aware of this. That was why he told them that the team would be disbanding soon and the news hadn't been made public. But everyone could feel it. It couldn't change public opinion. This was the general trend. He just didn't want to be influenced and assimilated. If the Supreme Alliance was no longer like the Supreme Alliance. Chapter 1658. Coco regretted his suggestion a little. But Lin Feng acted as though nothing had happened. He was still playing with his plush toy. He didn't play games anymore because he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to let it go if he met it again. He probably still felt regret. But sometimes in the group chat, Zhao Sanpang no longer called himself the most handsome person in the world on livestream. Instead, he would call people over for a meal every day, insisting that he had researched a new dish. The picture he sent was actually an eggplant pot. It seemed like the most ordinary life. But there were still people who would dig for information about him. Lin Feng didn't care. He just needed to make up for the losses the Lin family suffered because of him. This was probably his goal in life. He used to be fearless. Now he was afraid that the truth would never be seen. He, who had lost his courage, would never be the same as before even if he picked up the mouse again. Because the important people were gradually retiring. All he could do was cherish them. The news would never stop, being created and reinvented, adapted and rewritten, using everything. In reality, the things behind were too dark. In this world, as long as you felt that what you did was right and what you presented was right, it didn't matter how despicable your methods were. No one would think too deeply about it. After all, it was complicated. Lin Feng couldn't forget why he joined the Supreme Alliance. Because there was a person here. Even if the world was chaotic and he had suffered a lot, he wouldn't become the kind of person he didn't want to be. Lin Feng smiled, his gaze landing on the cold and elegant figure. Was this the reason Little Spade liked this person so much? How many people in the world could maintain the same state of mind? Incorruptible to darkness, immune to poison. Their captain seemed to just stand there. It made people feel that the future was bright. A dazzling person never stayed in a greenhouse, ignorant of the world. But his heart had come into contact with all the darkness. But he insisted on the path he wanted to follow. As long as the Supreme Alliance was still in his heart. As long as there were people who were sad and felt that they couldn't walk out of it, they would be filled with strength when they thought of this name. The rest didn't seem that important. That day, the group went to many places. They even took many photos. When they left, they didn't turn back. Only Mo Bei was there, carrying a small school bag, looking at the person who still had a wanton smile on her face. She knew that her master would only be overseas in the future. The only thing he felt upset about was, he had never fought with this person on the same battlefield. After all the Supreme Alliance members returned to China, the first thing Feng Yi wanted to announce was the disbandment of the team. He was still dressed in a suit, with gold-rimmed glasses and a smile on his face. No one was willing to accept the news. The doubters were still doubting. Someone even said, "Supreme Alliance is different to me. I don't want to be a fan of these players anymore since they were disbanded for no reason." No matter what it was, Feng Yi just listened and didn't say a word after listening. It would definitely set off a wave of discussions. There were those who understood and those who did not. Feng Yi wasn't worried about anything else. Before he returned to the country, Z had talked to him and asked him to make arrangements for Tiny. With the little guy's strength, he should be able to enter any team. It was just that it was too chaotic at this time. The Supreme Alliance disbanded. Teams of imitators popped up endlessly. Chapter 1659. In the end, someone said that it was impossible for a gaming team not to know about Supreme Alliance. It was impossible for the champions of the Asian Cup not to know. The other party would say, "Oh, I just checked and found out. What does it have to do with us?" Feng Yi had expected such a situation. Probably no one would understand. If he really liked her, he had to restrain himself. The other party made use of emotional impulses to create opinions and create topics of discussion. Mo Bei looked at the 2 days after the Supreme Alliance disbanded. She had been dealing with such matters almost every day. She made the decision to not join any team. Hence, when Feng Yi wanted to bring Mo Bei to the club under the group, Mo Bei lifted her little face. "Uncle Feng, I joined the Supreme Alliance because of you guys. Now that the Supreme Alliance has disbanded, I want to learn a skill that I can use in the future." Feng Yi paused and looked back. "You don't play games anymore." Mo Bei hummed in acknowledgement. Feng Yi wanted to say something. However, Mo Bei spoke before him, "With me here, there will only be more discussions. It's good that Elder Lin and Master are like this now. Because of me, Uncle Feng has to continue to be busy and deal with these topics." Feng Yi pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up his nose. "It's not as complicated as you think. I saw it all." Mo Bei's gaze was deep. Now, there are people using Supreme Alliance to talk about things, good and bad, imitating and belittling it. I thought people who like it would differentiate and tolerate it, but now I understand that these are forcing people against their will because people will be impulsive because they like it and those invisible things will slowly brew. Probably because she wasn't old enough, Mo Bei furrowed her brows when she said this. Her little face was clear and indifferent. "It's very complicated." Feng Yi lowered his lids. "It would be a pity if you don't play professionally. There are many people who aren't suited to be professional players but are clamoring to play professionally. However, this is the first time I know that you want to learn skills other than gaming." Mo Bei didn't speak. She was still carrying a school bag on her back. Feng Yi chuckled. "With young Master Qin and Z tutoring you, your studies shouldn't be too difficult. My mentality isn't good." Mo Bei's face was rather serious. "I want to calm down." Feng Yi really laughed this time. "Your master is right, little old cadre. What technology do you plan to learn?" "Chef." Mo Bei looked up. "Cooking is the same as playing games. It can make people happy." Feng Yi's gaze was indifferent, as though he wanted to smoke. "I can handle the current situation. You don't have to make such a decision now. Little one, you have to believe that your Uncle Feng can still fight." "I believe you." Mo Bei's voice was a little low. Captain, he disbanded the Supreme Alliance because he didn't want to fight anymore, right? If we continue to fight, we will only disappoint Senior Lin and the others. Captain wants to keep the things in their hearts. Feng Yi's back trembled. After a long time, he said, "Don't be against playing esports just because of this." "I won't." Mo Bei's small body stood there with her back straight. "I like to play games. I like to follow behind Master. I like to be with Senior Lin and the others. I don't have any conflicts because that is playing esports. Now that Master and the others are tired and want to rest, I want to rest too." Feng Yi's phone was ringing. The contracted team was rushing him. "Have you really decided?" Feng Yi asked. Chapter 1660. Feng Yi tugged his collar and sent a rejection message to the other side. Bei's official appearance was also temporarily cancelled in the afternoon. No one knew what the Supreme Alliance's pet looked like. The only thing left were some videos of Bei's game characters. When she walked out of the club, Mo Bei didn't bring anything with her. Instead, she placed the keyboard that she had been carrying on her back in front of a seat. When she heard that the Supreme Alliance had disbanded, the little princess of the Yun family, Yun Xin, ran over to accompany her little friend. Because she knew that Mo Bei wouldn't feel good. This kind of thing couldn't be let go just because she said so. It was raining and the screen was still playing the Supreme Alliance's video. Yun Xin asked the driver to stop the car and saw the figure standing by the side of the road. She raised her head and looked at the screen in the square. Her eyes chased after the figures. Many years later. Perhaps no one remembered them. But she remembered. That pair of burning eyes started to bury her emotions bit by bit. She said that she wouldn't play games anymore. At that time, she was too young and her eyes were red. Yunshin didn't understand anything, but one thing was clear to her. No matter what decision anyone made, it was to protect. When the decision to disband was made, Qin Mo told Feng Yi. Depending on which team they wanted to go to, whether they wanted to stay in the industry or do something else, they could find the corresponding company. After being a professional player for so many years, everyone had their own savings. There wasn't much to worry about in this aspect. Only Rao Rong didn't have any funds, but the things that he knew were incomparable to ordinary people. Lin Feng had asked him to be the product technical director several times. Uncle Ian had even thrown the internet cafe to him. Rao Rong basically had to busy himself here and there. But that face didn't change at all. When he smiled, his eyes were half-curved. When he didn't smile, he was cold and handsome. After everyone took off their uniforms, they didn't touch the mouse or keyboard again. We always had a kind of panic. We were afraid that we would become the most inconspicuous one among the masses. We were afraid that mediocrity would wear away our youthful spirit. Only later did we realize that those things were under our eyes. But because we cherished it too much, we would use maturity to explain it. Yao Yao was one of them. She was different from before. Many teams would come over to poach her and offer a high price. She didn't agree. University was about to start. Life would definitely be different. Because they were going to change cities. If she stayed here, she would always think of the days when she went to the internet cafe with Coco and the others to get instant noodles. In the past, Yao Yao's academic results were above average, but ever since they went to tutor together, she directly ascended. Sometimes, she would always think of that silver-haired youth with a lollipop in his mouth and a book covering his face. Occasionally, he would be hit by the captain. Then, he would find an excuse not to do the physics questions. With a handsome face, he would walk over to her, point out the mistakes in her answers, and teach her a simpler way to solve the questions. The day before Shui Yao Yao left the Jiang family. It was the official transfer of power by the Jiang family. In other words, the entire Jiang family would be inherited by Jiang Zhua. Therefore, many people came. For such a grand occasion, brilliant lights, fine wine, and delicacies were all indispensable. There was very low, clear music playing at the scene. This time, the commercial atmosphere was quite strong. Chapter 1661. Jiang Zhuo wouldn't agree to such a thing. He stood there shaking his wine glass, looking a little unapproachable. Many people said that Jiang Zhuo had changed. Because in the past, young Master Jiang was basically the type who would never be touched by a single leaf. He would never be cold to a girl. Like a central air conditioner. But it didn't have the temperature of a central air conditioner and was just a polite rejection. To a certain extent, he was considered a scumbag. But some rumors couldn't be trusted. Even though Jiang Zhuo was a scumbag, he had never been close to her. Now, he seemed to have something on his mind and wasn't even paying attention. Father Jiang walked over helplessly, not knowing what to do with his son who had been estranged since a long time ago. You have to meet her. Father Jiang lowered his voice. Business is business. Jiang Zhuo was still cold towards his father. Why? You want to sell me? The Jiang family doesn't need such a model anymore. I see that you have been in a bad mood recently, you are really. Father Jiang didn't know what to say and tilted his head in anger. Jiang Zhuo paused. Why don't I see them? Don't you dislike seeing your auntie? She is upstairs with little Heng, Yao Yao is leaving tomorrow. Father Jiang sighed. Dad's things will be yours in the future. I didn't let your mother down, I am really old and don't want to be alone in my old age. Jiang Zhuo glanced up. How do you explain what happened previously? Father Jiang drank a mouthful of champagne. I was promiscuous, but not when your mother was sick. Why don't you believe me? When she left, I felt worse than you. Jiang Zhuo didn't speak. Once his mother left, this man quickly found someone. That was the truth. Father Jiang knew what his son was concerned about and didn't defend himself. Perhaps even he felt that he was a scumbag. He had liked someone so much before. But less than a month after she left, he liked someone else. Maybe he was too lonely then. But regardless of the excuse, it was irreversible. This has nothing to do with your auntie. She just wanted to start a family when she met someone. Jiang Zhuo looked at his father. If you say it has nothing to do with it, then it has nothing to do with it. When you rebuilt your family, did you think about what you destroyed? All the good feelings he had for her. Everything was gone. She and her family were the thing that broke it all. That was why he did what he did at that time. Because this person would never think of those who went to heaven again. In this world, he was the only one who remembered that before she left, she told him to listen to his father. Hence, Jiang Zhuo couldn't forgive her. Even if he regretted it, it was useless. Perhaps, I'm the same as you. Who asked me to be your son? We're both scum. Jiang Zhuo chuckled and walked over. Father Jiang was even more worried. Recently, his son was no longer rebellious, but was unbelievably quiet. What exactly happened? Jiang Zhuo just found it boring. His father said that he loved him. But when he held his new son, he smiled more happily than anyone else. There seemed to be a kind of stubbornness that only single-parent children could understand. However, such stubbornness would often hurt oneself. No one noticed how lonely Jiang Zhuo was as he walked on the dance floor. Chapter 1662. Every freshman was more or less the same. During the summer vacation, while completely relaxed, there was also an indescribable sense of loss. His high school life was finally over. Those test papers that he wanted to finish day and night. Sometimes when reading a book, he would touch the table with his head. It was a very ordinary life. But because in those bits and pieces, there was the shadow of an important person. The day before he left, he had to pack his luggage. Shui Yao Yao looked at the black and red uniform. Her fingers paused for a moment before she hung it in the innermost part of the wardrobe and put it away. Mother Shui was very reluctant. Why do you have to go so far away? It's not like we don't have good universities here. Shui Yao Yao smiled. It's more professional there. Mother Shui knew that it wasn't because of this that her daughter chose to study in another city. But there didn't seem to be any reason to stop him. After all, she knew in her heart that after marrying into the Jiang family, she, as his daughter, would be the one who would be slandered the most. After Shui Yao Yao took her things, she planned to go to the base. She wanted to spend her last day with Coco and the rest. It was said that Coco would be leaving soon as well. He wouldn't be competing anymore and would be going back to inherit the family business. In the future, it would be in a different city. She was fine. The place she went to was a coastal city in the south, and the students didn't feel much pressure from the competition. It was hard to imagine Coco in a suit. Shui Yao Yao smiled and picked up her luggage. Considering that there were too many people in front of him, he took the back door. Mother Shui and Yao Yao's little brother saw them all from behind. However, he didn't expect the two of them to go up. At the corner, Shui Yao Yao saw the figure leaning against the wall. After seeing her, Jiang Zhuo glanced over. The two of them had not spoken for a long time. Now that they were standing face to face, they felt like strangers. But Shui Yao Yao was really different from before. It seemed that the embodiment of maturity was that even when facing the past, you could still act like an adult. He greeted her calmly. Because in this relationship, you're not the one with regrets. I'm going, Shui Yao Yao said with a smile. Jiang Zhuo clenched his fists and replied faintly, as Shui Yao Yao took a step forward. The moment they brushed past each other, his wrist was grabbed by someone. It's not like there aren't good universities here. When Jiang Zhuo said this, his voice was hoarse. Didn't I arrange it for you? If you want to hide from me, there's no need to go to another city. That contract is over. What else do you think I will do to you? Shui Yao Yao paused. To a certain extent, she understood Jiang Zhuo. After all, she used to know what he was thinking. In this situation, he was merely trying to keep her. Shui Yao Yao was indeed a little surprised, but there were other emotions. It's not because of you. I've really lost a lot of weight. In the past, I didn't even dare to think about it. You guys are all amazing, the kind that you were born with, but I'm different. My family background and appearance are so ordinary that I can't be any more ordinary. I'm even known as the damned fatty in people's mouths. A long time ago, I really felt that hard work was useless. I liked to fantasize that I was Cinderella who would meet her Prince Charming. It wasn't until I met that person that I realized that I had to drink more poisonous chicken soup. She said that she was obsessed with appearance. If you can't even maintain your best condition, how can you let others discover you? She said that there are always some things in this world that you have to do by yourself. I understand now. If you want to be outstanding, you can't blame others. Chapter 1663. Jiang Zhuo had never felt the need to let go as he did now. Actually, it wasn't impossible to stop her. She cared about her family the most. He just had to make use of this. Jiang Zhuo had been a businessman since he was young. Lingering in the bushes and scheming was similar to Feng Yi. But at this moment, he let go. When he turned his head, his voice was low. I'll get the driver to send you. Okay. Shui Yao Yao didn't argue since it wasn't easy to get a cab here. Jiang Zhe didn't send her off because he knew that if he followed her any longer, he would do something he would regret. But the confident her was so beautiful that it made him feel uncomfortable. University life. How many people would he meet? The moment he thought of this, young Master Jiang, who had always been a strategist, couldn't remain calm. He watched as the car disappeared into the night. Jiang Zhe slammed his hand into a tree beside him. His knuckles were broken and blood flowed out. But he didn't seem to notice it. If the butler hadn't come out to tell him that he was going back to cut the cake, he wouldn't have known that his young master was injured. Oh my God! The butler inhaled sharply, hurrying over with a cloth to bandage the wound. Jiang Zhe took the cloth and wrapped it around a few times, his emotions calm. It's okay, go in. Young master. The butler was still worried, but he understood why his young master was like this. To him, if one didn't understand a person's life, they wouldn't understand why they had such thoughts. The original family had left a deep mark on them. No one had taught him what to do when he liked someone. That made him feel that love was the most useless thing in the world. If not, why would he find someone else? And not long after Madame passed away. The more one cared about relationships, the more they would be stuck in a dead end. He really needed someone to soften him up. The butler knew that Miss Yao Yao was the most suitable, even though their statuses weren't suitable. But to reorganize the family, they weren't related by blood. If Miss Yao Yao could forgive his young master, that would be great. In the past, when he had sent his young master to school, he had interacted with Miss Yao Yao. At that time, young master was very concerned about him. Although he didn't say it, he would always take an extra portion of breakfast, saying that fat people eat more. Others might think that he was mocking them, but those who were familiar with the young master would know that he would never say such words to someone he didn't care about. At that time, young master's personality was already very gentle. It was probably because she couldn't accept that Miss Yao Yao's mother had become the new madam. Many people said that they needed to be understanding. But no one understood young master anymore. The butler heaved a long sigh. At the party, everyone was clapping and smiling. Jiang Zhe sliced the cake with one hand. Was his life going to be like this? Every day when he woke up, he would be on guard. There would be no shortage of people by his side, but he could no longer feel anything, the other side. I heard Yao Yao is going to study in another city. The #1 RMB player in Zone C, Feng Shang, bought a lot of bags for her. Coco commented, shallow. Then he pulled the rabbit behind him and put it in Yao Yao's hand. In the future, let my little brother accompany you. This is not mine, I want to hug it to sleep, you don't need to worry, it is not dirty. Chapter 1664. You make it sound as though you haven't eaten it before. Coco glanced over. It was always lively when they were together. Now that Uncle Ian had gone out to play, the responsibility naturally fell onto Rao Rong. But compared to Uncle Ian who would cook noodles for them, Rao Rong was much more violent. He rolled up the magazine and knocked on it, still smiling. Can you guys send Yao Yao off happily? It really hurts. Coco covered his head. If I'm not smart, who am I going to look for? Rao Rong adjusted his clothes. Look for your parents to inherit the family fortune. Coco. Can we stop talking about this topic? Rao Rong chuckled lightly, raising his hand to pass the things he prepared to Shui Yao Yao. Medicine bag, healing type, you will need it in school. You're playing as a sorcerer and you even want medicine bags in real life. Coco couldn't prove his existence if he didn't ridicule him. But Coco's level wasn't enough for Rao Rong. Looking at the commotion in front of her, Shui Yao Yao knew that even after some people left, they wouldn't forget each other in their respective fields. When we were young, we were always anxious to grow up. We thought that once we grew up, we would have the ability to solve everything ourselves. But once we entered university, we would understand. The road beneath our feet was never simple. There was separation, darkness, unexpected encounters, and a future that couldn't be seen even if we lifted our eyes. But even so, we had to continue on. That was Shui Yao Yao, breaking free and starting her university life. Before she left, she met someone who used to like Jiangzhua at the high-speed rail station. That person said lightly, "Supreme Alliance disbanded, let's see who else will support you." Shui Yao Yao looked at him, her eyes turning darker and darker. When it reached a certain level, she didn't say a word, just pulling her luggage and brushing past him. There were too many feelings, some people didn't understand, so she didn't say anything. In her heart, Supreme Alliance had never disbanded. The only one. An irreplaceable existence. That youngster with the devilish smile, she would remember him the moment she closed her eyes. The way he ate hot pot, the curve of his lips when he played games, and even when he stood in the darkest place. Even when he lost, the light in his eyes never extinguished. It was as though he was telling everyone, "We can make a comeback." Shui Yao Yao glanced at the scenery outside the car. Liking seemed to never be fixed. Shui Yao Yao knew that very soon, there would be a new team. People's attention would be placed elsewhere. But at the same time, she believed that for some people, Supreme Alliance was a memory etched in their hearts. She left. In the car, Jiangzhou lowered his head. His hair fell down and covered his eyes, making it impossible to read his emotions. The housekeeper looked at the young master who didn't have much energy today and sighed. "Yes, Miss Yao Yao is already in the car." Jiang's slender hands tightened and then loosened. His Adam's apple moved as he said with difficulty, "Let's go." "Okay." The butler started the car. Jiangzhou took out his phone and opened the profile picture. In the end, he didn't send a message wishing her a safe journey. Instead, when she saw that Qin Mo had decided to stay overseas temporarily for the sake of a certain someone, her eyes flashed. Chapter 1665. The next day. It was sunny. See University. Compared to the north, the air was much more humid. When Shui Yao Yao alighted from the car, she realized that there were many K-pop trees here. They couldn't be seen in the north. See University was famous for its greenery. It was known as one of the most beautiful campuses. Half of it had mountains and half of it had water. Film crews often came here to film. No one here knew who Shui Yao Yao was. It wasn't that Shui Yao Yao didn't have fans, but not everyone watched esports. Moreover, Shui Yao Yao changed her hairstyle and lost 5 to 6 kilograms compared to the last time she competed. University started and everyone who experienced it knew. There were many seniors welcoming the new students. Of course, there were many cars at the school gate. Most of them were sent by their parents. There were also those like Shui Yao Yao, who came with their own luggage. But after a few steps, from afar, she heard someone say, Junior, you came alone. We are here to welcome the new students. Let me carry your luggage." Shui Yao Yao wanted to say no. But the person didn't even give her a chance to speak. "Don't be so polite, just call me senior." With that, he revealed a row of white teeth. He was handsome and bright. Shui Yao Yao thought that this should be normal university life. "Thank you. You don't have to, we welcome the new students to provide convenience for the juniors." The person was still smiling. A guy rushed over. "Only for the juniors. You don't care about them. This junior is alone." "I don't believe you, you must think that she's pretty." "It's wrong of you to think that way." "That's what I thought, I'll send her." The guy snatched the luggage and smiled at Shui Yao Yao. Junior, where are you from? You don't have a boyfriend, right? You must be single since you're so pretty. F***ck, you're too much. It's rare for a pretty girl to come and you want to interfere. The more Shui Yao Yao listened, the more she found it interesting. She lowered her lids and smiled. The two of them were stunned when they saw that smile. They had just been far away when they saw this girl. Carrying a suitcase, she walked straight ahead with a smile on her face, looking very gentle. Nowadays, there weren't many girls like her. Even if she was like a green tea, she would still be likable, right? But when he saw her smile, he felt that she was not green tea. Green tea should be blushing at this moment. Seeing that they were looking at her, Shui Yao Yao said, I can carry the luggage myself. There's nothing inside, and I'll just follow the crowd and I'll be able to find the girls' dormitory. I won't trouble you guys, thank you. He left just like that. The two of them looked at each other and were about to step forward. He heard a voice by his ear, who's that? Who? A new junior. Wait, F***ck, it can't be. Oh L4, don't tell me you're interested in her. That person glared at him. The girls of C University will cry if they find out about this. The newcomer smiled. When the corners of his mouth curled up, there was a hint of coolness. It's incredible that I'm interested in people. No, this new junior sister is indeed pretty, but you don't even pay attention to our school bell. Why are you interested in her here? Chapter 1666. Yao Yao didn't know that someone was interested in her. She pulled her luggage into the dorm. University dorms were usually for 4 people. There were 2 layers of beds and a common desk near the window. Southern universities had a strong design concept. Some new dorms would be like graduate dorms, each bed would have a small table that could be stretched out. Shui Yao Yao looked at the bunk beds that were completely different from high school. She truly realized that this was the start of her new life. The moment Shui Yao Yao came in, a cute girl on the upper bunk said, "Wow, another pretty girl came in. Our dorm room is really pretty." Beauty. Shui Yao Yao had never been called that before. But she couldn't deny her beauty after losing weight. After hearing that, Shui Yao Yao couldn't help but laugh. Senior Lin Feng used to say, "Little Spade, let's form a boy group and debut. Since we're so handsome, let's bring Zhao Sanpang along. He'll be in charge of praising our boy group." Senior Lin Feng used to say, "Little Spade, let's make a debut as a boy group." With that thought, Shui Yao Yao paused, not allowing her thoughts to continue. She lifted her head and looked at the girl. "Hello, I'm Shui Yao Yao." "I know." The girl with the doll's head glanced over. "There are names here, I'll stay on the upper bunk, Li Tao, you can call me Peach." Shui Yao Yao chuckled. "Peach. Beautiful, you're too beautiful." Li Tao chuckled. "I'm going to the school's website to sign up. By the way, our pretty dorm is super high." "That's not a good idea." The girl who had just made the bed wore glasses and was very artistic. Who would praise their own dorm? Peach, stop fooling around. Yu is right. Li Tao was naive. "Then shouldn't we go to the dorm for a meal on our first day?" The girl named Yu nodded. "That's possible. What about Yao Yao?" Li Tao tilted her head. Shui Yao Yao smiled. "I'm fine too, I can head out after tidying up. Then we're left with our goddess Xi Xian." Li Tao lifted her head, looking at the girl who was doing makeup in front of the mirror. "Are you going?" Xi Xian turned around. She was indeed beautiful, with an indescribable temperament. "Of course. That's great. Let me see if there are any recommendations on the school's website. Just like every girl entering college life. Shui Yao Yao listened to the chatter in the dorm and began her most ordinary life. It was different from how he used to look forward to playing another match every day. Now, there seemed to be a sense of a long and thin stream of water. Generally speaking, there were many small restaurants near the university. Especially in the student city, there were many restaurants with good food and reasonable prices. Li Tao quickly locked onto one of the restaurants because it was decorated in a small and clean manner. It was also a place to eat skewers. The school website said that this restaurant is really good. Most importantly, handsome guys and pretty girls love coming here. Li Tao winked at Shui Yao Yao and the others, reaching out to push open the door. Needless to say, it was indeed very popular. In addition, there were many new students today. It was their first day meeting each other, so they all wanted to have a meal together. The weather was hot. Of course, it was better to eat in an air-conditioned place like this. Therefore, there were even more people. We won't have to queue for a long time, will we? Chapter 1667. Shui Yao Yao turned her head and smiled. Senior. Yao Yao turned her head and smiled. Senior. Shui Yao Yao turned her head and smiled. Senior. That person wasn't anyone else, it was the first person Shui Yao Yao met when she entered the school gate. Your dorm. Shui Yao Yao nodded. The person laughed. It seems like all good-looking people stay in the same dorm, for example, our dorm is the same. Hearing his words, Li Tao and the others laughed. You can't find a seat, right? Junior, wait a moment, I'll talk to four. No, let's sit together. The person said quickly, turning and walking over. Li Tao asked, Yao Yao, this senior is so funny. How do you know each other? Were you friends before? No, he's the senior who welcomes the new students. Shui Yao Yao was impressed by his friendliness. He was indeed passionate but also interesting. Li Tao nodded and then blinked. We just met once and he's already so close. Yao Yao, could he be? She didn't finish her sentence. A voice came from the other side. That person waved his hand. Junior sisters, come over here. We can make a table for 4 more people. You girls are thin, so it won't take up too much space. No one didn't like such words. Not to mention the cheerful Li Tao, even the quiet you couldn't help but laugh. Are we going? Shui Yao Yao still had to ask for her roommate's opinion. Even though the girls had different personalities, they were all quite generous. Of course. Let's go. Shui Yao Yao started walking. It wasn't a big deal, but when they were about to reach the table, Li Tao suddenly exclaimed. Oh my God, why is it him? He, who? You asked. Li Tao didn't dare to point. Look at the most handsome person sitting at the table, he's C University's famous school hunk, he's a first-class protected animal. Not only is he good at everything, he looks like a celebrity. I was just looking at the school's website, I didn't expect the heavens to let me see him in person. Hearing Li Tao's words, the others all looked over. The quiet you blushed. I've heard of him too. He's 2 years older than us and has always been quite popular. School hunk Lin Yang, even the professors like him. The one in the white shirt. After Zi Xian sized him up for a while, she smiled and said, he does look good. Does he have a girlfriend? Zi Xuan, why are you so direct? Li Tao lowered her voice. I can tell you that he hasn't. Senior seems to be quite busy recently and hasn't been particularly close to anyone. Shui Yao Yao was amused by their conversation. After all, when he was with that person. No matter how handsome a guy was, no one would look at him. His gaze would only land on that person. Amazement seemed to always be used to describe that person. Silver hair, arrogant handsomeness, lazy and gentle. It could be said responsibly. After seeing such a person, it was rare for Shui Yaoyao to think that someone was stunning. As time went by, he became the least excited one. However, it could be seen. The person sitting at the dining table was not bad looking. Even in such a noisy environment, he had his own aura. Chapter 1668. The senior on the other side said, "Old four, I brought him here." What did that mean? Li Tao and the others exchanged glances, feeling that those words were a little ambiguous. "All right, sit down quickly. Be careful that number 4 doesn't guide you through the information." Lin Yang just smiled and looked up at Shui Yaoyao. "Our dorm is more lively. Talk to Yaoyao alone." Zi Xian basically understood. She nudged Li Tao with a smile. Li Tao was enlightened by Zi Xian, the love expert. The two of them exchanged glances and felt that there was a chance. The skewers went into the pot. The boy was indeed cheerful. "Let me introduce myself, I'm Zhang Yang. As for the other 3, I have to brag about my number 4, the school treasure. C University has a lot of information about him, you can go take a look," Li Tao said softly. "I've already seen it." Zhang Yang laughed. "I don't need to say more, isn't he handsome in real life? He can sell his photos, right? Brother Zhang." Lin Yang glanced down. This person was much more restrained. "Where is number 4? He gets shy easily. Let's talk about something else." "Oh right, where are you guys from?" "Lin Mao. Huijin. Local. Jiang City." After Shui Yaoyao finished speaking, Zhang Yang knocked his head. "Jiang City, why does it sound so familiar?" "You must be kidding, how can it not sound familiar? It's obvious on the map." "Junior, why didn't you study in Jiang City, why did you come here?" After all, the admission cutoff for C University and that school shouldn't be too far apart. Shui Yaoyao chuckled. "I've never left home before, I wanted to try living independently." "You have an idea?" Zhang Yang tilted his head and looked at Lin Yang. "Just like our number 4, his family is local but he insisted on staying in school, saying it's to train himself." Lin Yang didn't retort this time, he was still smiling. Zhang Yang felt that it was rare to see him so satisfied with a girl. He began closing the distance between them with all his might. Shui Yaoyao listened at the side, occasionally placing the skewers into her bowl. She recalled the time when a group of people ate skewers, drank wine, and dipped into hot pot. That person took care of her. There were many. He helped her snatch the meat, helped her hide the wine bottle, and finally propped up the side of his face. The tears under his eyes were clearly visible. These, because many things, were gone. Shui Yaoyao always thought that starting a new life was what she wanted. But gradually, she understood something. She wanted to go back to that time. Indeed, every day was tiring. But that group was there. No matter what they had encountered. No one would believe what could be said and what could be said. Might as well keep silent about the past. None of them seemed to be able to withstand it. To be able to fight together, to see that person moving the mouse, tilting his head and smiling. She could be considered a qualified fan. Not just to His Highness Joe. It's the same for those people. He left in such a hurry. She didn't even tell them. In the eyes of others, you are part of Supreme Alliance. So many people would say, anyway, I don't like Spade Z, it's fake. Or rather, Lin Feng didn't even reply. How disappointing, but that didn't stop me from liking Supreme Alliance. Luo Luo was like that. Otherwise, why would she retire and so on? There were also so many people who said that this was the best team, that this team contained their youth. But she only wanted to say one thing. Even if you lose your brilliance, return to the most ordinary life. Even if you don't play games anymore, become ordinary in the vast sea of people. Chapter 1669. This meal of skewers was not without effect. Anyway, it had successfully closed the distance between the two dorms. Junior, you can look for 4 for academic matters, don't stand on ceremony. That's right, don't stand on ceremony. The two of them had spared no effort to be 4's godly support. The rarest thing was that in the past, 4 would just give them the cold shoulder when they said such things. But this time, it was clearly allowed. When they reached the dorm, Li Tao said, Yao Yao, let me tell you, our school hunk is definitely interested in you. Shui Yao Yao didn't deny it. Li Tao was stunned. Shouldn't you say that it's impossible and that I'm just imagining things? Ah. Shui Yao Yao was conflicted. Do I have to say that? Zi Xian didn't have a good impression of the people in the dorm and felt that they hadn't experienced much. Now that she heard Shui Yao Yao's words, she smiled and leaned against the wall. No, girls have a sixth sense. If you say that, it will only prove that you're shy or you saw through it. I thought you were shy, but it doesn't seem like it. Shui Yao Yao chuckled lightly. I can feel it, he wants to pair me up with Senior. Then what do you think? Li Tao was dumbfounded by the unconventional dialogue. This wasn't how she usually spoke in comics. Shui Yao Yao glanced up. Me? I don't have any plans to date, I want to study first. Yao Yao, you're joking, studying in university. Li Tao had a look of disapproval. Haven't you heard of this saying? If you don't date in university, you are wasting your youth. Zishuan also agreed with this sentence. Don't date. Study. I just praised you and now I want to say. Fake. Shui Yao Yao continued her sentence and smiled. It's probably because my life plans are different. I really don't want to date right now. I want to enrich myself. Now that I've chosen this major, I'll probably be busy in the future. If I meet someone suitable, I won't reject him, but that'll be 2 or 3 years later. Li Tao paused. Life plans. Honestly, she couldn't continue the conversation. After all, they had just started university, and today was their first day of school. Wasn't it too early to talk about life plans? Yao Yao, where did you come from, old antique? Li Tao buried her head in the blanket, looking very cute. Shui Yao Yao also teased, indeed, you youngsters can't learn it. This sentence made everyone in the dormitory laugh again. From this, other people also really realized, Yao Yao really doesn't want to fall in love. How should he put it? At his age, he was good-looking, sincere, hard-working, and had a long-term plan. It was really hard to hate him. Buzz Li Tao's phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen and said to the others, it's a senior. He's asking if we want to play games. He even said that his 4th brother is really good at games and can carry the entire game. With that, Li Tao's eyes lit up. That's great, I'm lacking an almighty to carry me. Senior said that he and the school hunk will carry us, one against the assassin and the other against the tank. How about Yao Yao, are you coming? I saw that you have Hero on your phone. Because it was quite hot. Walking by the lake was better than sitting. At least there would be wind. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.